but Susan, I guess you've already done that.
Sorry, Jen just reminded me that I hadn't started the recording.
Yeah. So if we, I guess officially take attendance, and we have a quorum, so we can just dive right in. As you know, previously the subcommittees were reorganized so that and the duties of the subcommittees were sort of changed around a bit for coverage and jurisdictional purposes. I think, let's see, Eric, Alicia, and help me out, Robin are the chairs of the subcommittee. So I think first on the agenda for any subcommittee updates is the hiring committee. Alicia, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. And we welcome increased participation. If anybody would like to attend the meetings, it would be terrific to have you. We have been doing a lot of back and forth over email, and we are looking at we're continuing our partnership, some of our partnership with a very prominent community stakeholder, and we are looking at some very pointed questions that we would like to present regarding training, in particular de-escalation. And yeah, so we're moving. We're moving, but we would like if some folks would like to stop in. So it's me, Caroline Fredrickson, and Nadia Salazar. And so there's that.
So can I ask you, I have a question that's kind of been in the back of my mind for a little while. And that is about the how veteran status is treated in hiring.
Okay, so
I assume it's a preference of some sort.
So is that a question that you would like us to include?
Well, but yeah, here's my thing. Here's my thing is that you know, in most government jobs, veterans get a preference, okay, and that makes sense. But you know, I'm a little concerned, I think, when we're giving a veteran's preference in this kind of work, because the
there is
kind of thinking you have to do, you know,
yeah,
know,
there is a preference.
Yeah, I mean, we want our you know, troops to have sort of a, you know, I don't want to say us v them attitude. That's not what I'm trying to get to. But we want them to have a more ardent time of war stance. And I'm just kind of wondering, you know, how that is addressed when people are being sort of retrained, because that ardent stance is really not necessarily appropriate when we're in a civilian environment, you know. Been a lot of discussion over the last 5 or 6 years about the militarization of local police, not just ours, but everybody's. And I just kind of got a sort of bug in my head last week, wondering whether this is part of the issue that I don't think anybody's really thought much about.
Yeah, there is a preference. I just received some communication from one of the committee members. There is a preference.
Yeah, could you all figure out, what kind of retraining is done, whether there's any special retraining done if someone comes as a veteran from the military? Because I just can't help but think that that there should be uh assistance to help people sort of undo
Mhm.
some of the uh more ardent um um viewpoints that we want our military to have, in dealing in an enemy combative environment versus here, in a civilian, you know.
Right. No, currently we have been working very intensively on the de-escalation.
And I think that may figure
That's
into it.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
may
we
figure
have a
into it.
very, uh, working on a very intense document regarding de-escalation techniques, but you have some entries in the chat.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah, I
know.
see yeah, Eric has explained to us, has given us the exact citation for the preference. Oh, and I see Robin cannot attend this evening. So let's see, that's all. If I'm missing anything, oh, as Susan tells us that all recruits go through the same background and psych exam process, and all the same training. So I'm wondering if, Alicia, that, especially as it impacts de-escalation, whether
Mhm.
that's something that, that you think, I mean, your committee, would
Okay,
think should be worthy of at least asking a few questions about that.
indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
Um, so Robin's not going to be with us this evening. So Eric, that means you're up.
Thank you, Sherry. Um, I wrote to Dalbin and I asked, are there other members of the commission who wish to serve on the discipline subcommittee? And he wasn't sure, but he thought that Vernon had expressed an interest. He was not aware of anyone else. I wrote to Dalbin and I proposed that we send an inquiry to the county asking how much the county has paid in settlements of claims of misconduct by police officers over the last 5 years. This has been an issue that's been reported in the press and would be one way to measure the the county's response to the challenge of uh, allegations of police misconduct and to what extent, to how expensive it might be, at least in terms of paying settlements. He thought that was a good idea. I haven't drafted yet a draft letter for us to send to, I guess, to the county attorney or to the county executive on that. But I'm happy to do so. And but I wanted to get a sense from other members of the commission that they support such an inquiry.
Can I ask you to, I believe it is Council Member Jawando who's introduced a bill that would require the disclosure of settlements. And I don't know where that is in the process at all. But you might want to take a look at that.
Sure. Thank
Because that might, feed into what you're doing. And might be a good reference point to any letter. I need to back up for a minute because this is what I failed to do. We need to approve the minutes. Hopefully you all have had an opportunity to review the minutes from the April meeting.
Yes.
So I need to know whether anyone has any concerns about the minutes that they'd like to raise at this point. Okay, well, hearing no concerns, I move that we approve the minutes from the April meeting. Anybody interested in seconding that?
Second, Eric seconds.
Thank you. If we can vote in the chat, whether on that, that would be helpful. And a yes vote is to approve the minutes, subject to any technical corrections. Susan, is that everybody? I think that's everybody.
Yes, it looks like it.
Okay. So I'm sorry about that. The minutes have been approved. So Robin's not with us, and he has the third subcommittee, so I guess we will have to ask him for his report at the next meeting. Jen, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. And this is sort of related to the shuffling of the committees. I was speaking with some colleagues that are in the mental health field with, that I'm working on several work groups. And I had just said, oh yeah, I'm on a different subcommittee now. There's no mental health emergency response subcommittee anymore on the PAC. And they were quite alarmed because this group, it operated, I mean, I'm not about to tell the head of DHHS who is a doctor, how to do his job, right? But I was really serving in a liaison capacity and bringing concerns of the disability community into the de-escalation and those type of conversations. I'm still doing that. Now I'm on 6 different work groups and we're starting a new autism initiative. I just think from the conversations I've had with a couple of people that it doesn't look great to the folks that may be following this group that all of a sudden there's no more mental health emergency response group. Not that I think it's important that I still report back on things that are happening. I think this group still needs to know about it. I'm not telling anybody how to do their job. If you don't want it, you don't want it. I just think we need to think about how that looks to people that follow this group, because that was one of the big reasons we formed this group, or why this group came into being, is because of the disability, autism, and IDD populations interacting with the police. So I'm just throwing it out there for what it's worth. I'm still deeply embedded in this work. I still consider myself a liaison for this organization to all the work groups I'm working on for mental health and emergency response. But I think we just need to think about the powers that be in this group. All the smart people out there just want to think about how that looks and how we manage this, because I think it's important that we still have some type of work in that area. That's all I got.
Are you, forgive me for not knowing this, but are you on any of the current committees?
Well, I had to pick. I chose Robbins just because of the community outreach and aspect piece of it. And I work with so many people. I'm in the community all the time. That seemed more like in my kind of area of work. But we haven't had a meeting yet, or since I've been on there, there hasn't been a get together. I did get a message today that we're going to be meeting soon, or if I can meet soon. But just putting that out there, I think it's important, not only for the people in the disability community to know that we're still conscious and aware and thinking and considering, all the work that's being done, but also for the people that, are on the outside.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Vernon, go right ahead.
I'm sorry. I missed the last meeting. I thought I was at all the meetings before that. I don't remember having voted on this tearing apart or taking down that committee. I think that was one of the most, and I was on that committee with Jen. And right now, mental health is the key conversation of all government, not just the police department, but all the other departments are concerned about that. So I don't remember this, you know, I'm sorry, I just don't know. I think that's terrible.
I think
I
it
don't
was
know
just
what
because
committee
I was
got
the only, like, just because I'm in it and I work in it every day, I was just feeling like we didn't really work as a committee, and maybe that's my fault. Because there's not really, I don't know if there's committee work to be done for that group as it is with the other groups, how you advise the council. I thought that was our role, advising the council on how to do these things. And what's happened is that everything that we had advised and that I put in the first year report is being worked on and done. Like, we have crisis center, we've increased the crisis response, we've got more beds at the local center, we're building a restoration center, they're consolidating 911, 988 suicide prevention. I mean, it is all happening, and I think that's kind of why
Well,
this
Jen,
happened. Yes, hon.
Jen, I'm still very concerned because I think you were doing a yeoman's job of informing us who were not mental health professionals or what have you on what was going on. Just because I know that one person has sent in a complaint that he had not been, or she or whatever, had not been made aware, but they didn't come to the meetings that you had. And so, you know, I just don't see us taking that committee away. And plus, I don't know where I am now. Because
hang with me, Vernon.
you know,
Alicia, did you, I'm sorry, Werner, is.
I was
did
just
you have
gonna,
something more?
I was just gonna, in part echo some of what Vernon has said. And Jen, your area of expertise is so important. I mean, it seems like you're gonna have to be sprinkled. You're gonna have to participate in all three committees. I think that would be very.
Oh my God, my head
helpful.
just exploded. Oh my God.
Because the hiring and recruitment subcommittee, we definitely would probably ask you to come in and present out on or come to the meetings, and certainly when you have an opportunity and you have time to
Yeah,
do
well,
that.
I mean, I gladly would do that. It's just, I don't know, I didn't want this to be a whole big thing. I just I recognize I'm the only one on here from disability. Well, like, really, you know, I mean, it's my every single day of my life. Not that I know more than anyone else, but I'm in it, and I think it's important that I at least have a liaison role if
Well,
I'm
and
not
Eric
my
has-
own committee.
Well,
Eric
Yeah,
has
I'm
in
not
the
my-
chat that you should be special liaison for mental health and disability and policing.
Yeah, that's kind of what, but I think, yeah, that should be somewhere, like, so we don't lose the mental health aspect of all
Yeah.
the work that we're doing. Not that I want more work to do, but I just think it's important. And I mean, I'm still going ahead and doing all my trainings. You know, I just got certified as a police trainer, and I'm doing the CIT stuff to train everybody, but it's just so that's out there. I wanted this discussion on the record. It had been an email thing with Dalvin and some of us, that because so much work is already being done. I mean, I got nothing else to say. They did every single thing that we discussed, that we asked for, you know, so far in this realm. So I think that's why it was thought that maybe we don't need this exact group. I just think it's a bad look.
So, Susan, just to be clear on the reconfiguration of the subcommittees, did we vote on that? I thought we did. I'm not 100% sure. Okay. So
Unfortunately,
Brennan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it was at the last meeting. I just wanted to let Mr. Ricks know that it was at the
Okay.
last meeting that he wasn't attending, so.
I couldn't attend that meeting, and I mean, that was a major decision to me. That I think that we need to go back and readdress that, because we were just talking about people from the military. Are they given special tests or whatever? You know, we're hearing about people who have mental issues they were just talking today on PSTD, I think it's called. There's just so much of what's happening in the law enforcement, in policing and what have you now that is on mental health in the school systems even. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid concern, and I don't know about. I mean, Jen does great work, working with all these different groups and keeping us informed. So, I'm wondering how we address, the concern that she's raised, that, it looks like maybe to the people in the greater world that we don't care, and I don't think anything could be further from the truth. I mean, I think we do, have deep concerns about how people with mental health challenges or intellectual disabilities are how they encounter law enforcement, and
Right,
how
and
law
that
enforcement
was my only
encounters that.
concern, that it's not a good look. So even if you have to list a special liaison, like how Eric worded it or something, I think that it looks a little better and inclusive, that we're really looking
Agreed.
at every aspect of policing.
well,
So
because
I think
Jen
Eric
is
has
my
his hand
leader.
up. I think Eric
Because-
has his hand
Okay,
up.
but because Jen is my leader, I'm gonna follow Jen.
You come with me, Vernon?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sharon.
Eric,
I'd like to offer a motion that we create, in addition to our officers of chair and vice chair, a special liaison for mental health and disability in policing, that be identified as one of our positions. And if that position is to be created, I would nominate Jen for that position. And that the role of that position would be to authorize her to continue to do on behalf of the commission the specialized engagement that she does with her expertise, and that she routinely report back to us on any developments that we need to know about in understanding what's changing, and how any action that the commission should take regarding those issues.
Who's
So-
that?
and
Is
as
that a
you know,
motion?
in the chat, I'm sorry.
Was that a motion?
Yeah,
Yes,
that was,
Seconded.
And I'll choose it.
so it's been seconded, thirded, and fourth and fifth, I think. If, and Eric points out in the chat that if all the foundational work has been done, then what needs to happen at this point is oversight, which is what I think, he described in his motion. So,
Sherry, sorry, it's Carolyn. Just wanted to interject. So we have the motion that was made and seconded. So now we need a vote. So
yeah,
if everyone
but
can just,
the motion was really long, so we're gonna have to take two votes. Okay. Vote one is that we create the position as described in Eric's
I can repeat it.
Yeah, the vote one is that the PAC create the position of mental health and disability liaison.
well,
Special liaison for mental health and disability in policing. That's the motion. Shall we establish the position of special liaison for mental health and disability in policing? Anybody want to second that?
Reseconded.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to make it clean for Carolyn. So so now that motion that has been moved and properly seconded, can people vote in the chat on whether they are in agreement? Yes is a vote for being in agreement. So I think that's everybody. Looks like everybody to me.
Just checking, so I don't know everybody yet, but Nicholas Augustine
Is,
Not on the
is
card.
a citizen
Yeah.
member? Okay,
yes. Mr. Augustine and Mr. Martinson are guests.
thank you. Yep, we're all set then.
Okay. Secondly, the motion on the floor is that Jen, Jen, what is your last name? Why don't I know that?
Nobody knows my last name.
You're like Cher, right? You don't really have you're
I'm
Madonna.
Cher. I am
You don't have to have
Pharrell,
one.
and you could call me Prince. Whatever. No, it has to do with my son, who we adopted, whose biological parents are nearby and not safe. So it's
Okay.
a safety issue. So I am
Okay.
gentleman as far as anybody in public is concerned. Yeah.
Okay, so the second motion is that Jen serve as our special liaison for, what are we calling it? Mental health and disabilities in policing. Special liaison for mental health and disability in policing, that Jen be that person.
I feel weird. Am I supposed to vote?
Of
Yes,
course.
Sure.
People vote for themselves on a ballot all the time.
I'll vote for my other personality.
Anybody,
Yes.
It's a nomination.
somebody
Jen.
seconded that? Are there any other nominations for this position? So we can close the nominations with
who
one.
seconded? Just saying.
Ed, I hope.
Vernon, we'll make you second. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
great.
Are there
And I've
any other
already voted.
nominations for this position?
I've already voted. I'm sorry.
Me too.
So, all those in favor of Jen being the special liaison for mental health and disability in policing, please vote in the chat. A yes is a vote for Jen. Okay, I think that's everybody. Carolyn, is that everybody?
It isn't, but if anybody is a no or an abstain, just say so.
That's
Yeah,
not
if you have,
everybody?
huh? I
That's
didn't hear you,
not
Alicia.
everybody. We only need 7, right? 7 votes, because that's our quorum, correct?
Yeah, but if everybody's, if we have 7 people here and only 5 are voting, then, we just need to make note.
I think,
Of
but I
what-
think everyone, all of the commissioners.
I
think-
voted.
Yeah,
I think.
I think,
I don't
think
think Caroline Frederickson recorded her.
Okay.
Yeah, Caroline,
Carolyn, if you don't wish to record a vote, please abstain in the chat. Maybe
I
she
know
stepped away.
she's furiously grading lots of student work, so I don't know. She
Yes,
said she was going to be able to.
it's about that
attend
time.
votes.
So,
Yeah.
we can't, we've given her an opportunity to vote. I can't do more than that. Okay, so Jen, what I think as a third matter, what we need to do is to have you provide an email that basically outlines the the duties of this role.
I
So
can
that
do that.
everybody's on the same page as to what it is, our expectations are and what your expectations are, just as importantly. Okay, so if, between now and the next meeting, if you can provide that email, then, we can distribute it, and, everyone's expectations will be, we'll all be on the same page.
Do you want a quick update? Well, now that all this is over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
I
Jen,
don't know
what's going on in your world?
I don't know if everybody knows that they are creating a restoration center. It's called, it's down by Seven Locks. It's going to be next to where the old jail is. There's a big space down there, and it's going to have several beds and recliners that are available for people in crisis, whether they're picking up folks that are homeless or overdosed or just need to dry out a little bit. There will be services there where people can spend up to 24 hours or possibly a 3-day for detox type of situation. And we're constantly working on ways to have people avoid ER visits and jail visits, right? So that's why all of these things are coming into play. They're also, for that large project in this legislative session, Montgomery County was awarded $17 million to make that happen. It's a huge, huge get, and it is very, very exciting. So you put that in addition to all the SAMHSA grants and all the various grants the county's applying for, and it's a huge kickstart to do this, because this is a very expensive project. It's probably about 4 years out from completion, but everything is in place. We really are looking for now people to run it, and they're doing planning and how they're going to renovate that building. They've added 4 crisis beds to the actual crisis center on Picard, and they're doing renovations to that physical space as well to make sure that everything is there, and they have more capacity for people, also up to the 24-hour or the I believe up to the 3 days. There's funny numbers in there because of insurance. You can't go over 24 hours and you can't go over 36, for billing kind of stuff, and there's all that work being done behind the scenes. And also in June, I don't know, maybe Susan, you can correct me, is it June of this year that the 988 is going to roll out nationwide? Do you know the
I think
suicide?
it's July 1st.
July 1st.
So
Yeah. So there's a nationwide 988 number, which is going to be like suicide prevention type work that everybody across the country can work with. So that those calls are going to come into our 911 center as well as crisis center calls, as well as all. So every single call that is coming in needs to be condensed in the ECC, and they're going to they're working on committees now or there's a lot of work groups actually underway on how to parcel out exactly where each of these calls goes, how to get, how do you know when a call comes in, if it's a paramedic or if it's an autism or not IDD call or an overdose call, or if it's really a suicide scare, So there's so much training and so much work, but that is happening July 1st nationwide, whether we're ready or not. So that is a really big push that's happening right now as well. And now that we've gotten, there's a crisis work group, which is working on that. There's the 911, 988 condensed or consolidation group that's working. And there's also the work group on the stabilization center. So all these people are getting together, and it's intense and it's big. And now they are now also adding a work on specifically autism and IDD, which is also a really huge, that's where my heart lies. And because all the mental health work doesn't cover autism and IDD. That's not mental health. That's paid for by other places. So it all comes down to money. The bottom line, is who's going to pay for this guy to be in the hospital for this long. So there's also, if you are familiar with Shepherd Pratt, they're adding a ton of beds into each hospital. in the area, type crisis beds. And really the biggest concern is right now is finding psychiatric nurses to cover everything and finding the staffing to do this job. So that's kind of it in a thumbnail, because there's so much work, so many meetings, and DHHS is working really, really hard with, I think someone said the finance, the GAO, was that what that's called? And we're allocating money and writing grants furiously. And so we need to hire people for the positions. There's a huge shortage on staff. And then also figure out how these are going to work after the money runs out, how we're going to sustain into the future, because it's important. So that's
that's all really good information. And I think, it will behoove us to figure out where exactly the intersection is with policing,
I think that's in how they respond to the calls,
right.
how they decide who responds.
And it's also, what the outcomes are, right? When those responses occur. And that'll be sort of an ongoing thing,
Right.
And how all that interacts with the county's efforts to have these crisis intervention teams,
Yeah, they're talking about, like even just mobile vans that can go out and help, and avoid the whole police piece if there's not a threat of violence or aggression. That's really important. And it's touchy work, because right now, especially with autism, where it's an invisible disability, those calls still, with all my families, I'm like, call 911, call 911. Who do they call? They call me. I'm like, call 911, stop calling me, so people, we can put all the systems in place, but people are still scared. I was scared, I didn't want to call 911 the first time I had to do it either. It's scary. So there's that whole public education piece that needs to happen, and we have to prove it, right, with the response and the data and the successful calls. But really, there are dozens of calls that are successful with autism and IDD families that happen every week. And it's just that people don't know about it. A lot of it, they just will call Lori directly, or they call me directly and I text Lori. It is a whole, like an underweb, that's happening. So it's going to take a lot of convincing, even if we have all the resources in place.
Yeah, but I think part of our challenge is to make sure that these systems are institutionalized if they're ad hoc, and we have to have if there is not a sufficient format to assure the institutionalization of these structures, then that kind of recommendation potentially could come from this body, but we all excuse me, but we have to know in order to make
Right.
that kind of step. Mr. McKinney, you had something?
Yeah, so I was just curious as to, is there a process in place for messaging? How do we message that to the public?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot of times, like how do we get our word to the public? Because it's really just been between all of our networks right now, and there's not, there's the website and stuff, but I don't know how much outside of us is happening. I think, Susan says, yeah, there's press releases.
Press releases,
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how to message, from this body, I don't.
And we also should have, if we're going to message, we also should have some kind of methodology of figuring out the results of that messaging. Is the word getting out there? So we will know whether or not we need to make adjustments to that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
I had a question for Jim.
Yes,
the last I heard, they were still not up to date, and not up to par, or not up to people yet on the number of psychologists, psychiatrists, or whatever who are available. And so, they roll out this program, and we still got the same guys running out to try to resolve the issues.
No, well, they have hired, we have everybody. The last call I was on, I think there might be one more opening that they're bringing on board, but they hired. There have been several pushes, and each year there's more people being added to those roles, Vernon. So I know of the 6 that were slotted to be hired in the last fiscal, they were hired. I only know that because I did the training. I did a half-day autism training for them. But they have hired, there are substations in Silver Spring now and in Germantown up here, crisis response substations where there are people staffing all 24/7. There's several teams round the clock. So now they're in the more populated areas of the county and the more where there's a lot of, I mean, Germantown and Silver Spring, are kind of hotbeds right now. So they're in little hubs. I'm missing one of them's at a hospital and one of them is up here on Bowland Farm Road. But so now they can deploy faster and they're closer. So that part is happening. I think they have like 23 people that I'm just pulling that number. I don't know why it popped in my head, but there are several teams. But finding real psychiatric nurses with that expertise, that's really hard right now. And those are the people that work at the crisis center,
Right.
So they're making it all happen, except we just need bodies. Hospitals are having trouble hiring too. I mean, this is heavy work, really,
Right.
really heavy work. Mhm.
So I'm wondering, Susan and Carolyn, would it be possible for us to send an inquiry to, I guess it's DHHS, about how they are coordinating all these various efforts? Is that in their, because that's really in their bailiwick, right? It's not in MCPD's bailiwick.
Yeah, it's there's Dr. Santiago is kind of orchestrating he's kind of the glue holding all these groups together. So I mean, if he can give you a rundown of all the groups that are working together and collaborating, it's way better than my word. I just know that he's kind of the centerpiece and everything is kind of coming off of him. And he's very open and he could even come and do a little presentation to the group. He's excellent. So
Well, Susan and Carolyn, could we pursue getting this coordinated list? That would be good to have. And then I guess one of the items further down our agenda, which I don't want to get ahead of myself, but is guest speaker suggestions. So that might be a suggestion, especially once we have this coordinated list, because it seems to me that it was sort of behooves us to, as Mr. McKinney said, where is the messaging coming from? And so, if we are in a position to make the rough places clear for people, we should definitely do that. So, but I think first we have to actually have the information. So thank you. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Susan, who says she will reach out to Dr. Santiago. That would be great. Anything else on that issue before we move along?
no, I'm finished. I'm sick of hearing my own voice, frankly.
No, we have to, part of our challenge is figuring out how, we work all this stuff in.
I know.
And, it's, well, we have meetings.
Yeah.
Next big thing is the Police Accountability Board update. Susan, are you gonna talk about
Yes.
that?
Yes, that's me. I've got some information both on the county and the state level. At the county level, the application period closed April 27th, and the county executive has received 70 applications. So they are currently moving through the interview process now. I believe Dr. Stoddard, I'm not sure what other staff are conducting the interviews, but they're doing them. They were doing them last week, they're doing them now. They hope to have a list of recommended individuals to give to the county executive by the 3rd week of May. And once he has approved that list, they will send the list over to the council. At that point, they will ask the people who they have selected to provide a brief type of biography synopsis that we can publish so the public can know who the members are going to be. And they hope to get everything to the council by the end of May, and then it's up to council to get it through the confirmation process.
And just
At-
refresh my recollection. How many people? Is it 9 people?
It's 9 on the Police Accountability Board, 5 on the Administrative Charging Committee. One of those people on the ACC could either be the chair of the PAB or somebody the chair appoints. So there could be some overlap.
Okay, okay. So, so we're looking at potentially they'll be on track for the July kickoff.
They'll be on track. It's going to be very tight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and moving through in the budgetary process, there is a non-departmental account for the Police Accountability Board. The executive sent over an amendment as recommended by the amendment. The funding is about $436,000. It adds an executive director who is a manager 2 position and 1 support staff person who's an administrative specialist 2. I'm personally a little concerned that they're trying to pay too low for that position. That's something that the council may discuss on Thursday. The other 2 types of boards that are comparable, the Ethics Commission and the Merit System Protection Board, both the directors make much, much more. And we do need to make sure that we can hire somebody who can really head this up, you know, as we move into this process and get going. At the state level, there are 3 pieces that we're waiting on. We're waiting on the qualifications of board members and administrative charging committee members. That is in the legal sufficiency process review at the Police Standards Training Commission. I get that acronym mixed up all the time. And once it goes through the legal sufficiency review, it'll be sent over through the COMAR process. They also have the use of force training and guidance, and that is not yet at the Training Commission for legal sufficiency. They're about to recommend it to go through, and they have a disciplinary matrix. That is, they're working on that another 2 weeks, and then they'll forward it to the Training Commission again to look through it for legal sufficiency and forward it on to COMAR. I do have an Attorney General's guidance on how jurisdictions should implement that. I will send that out after the meeting. I apologize. I've been just crazy busy at work, but I have a lot of documents to send to you guys after this meeting, and that's one of them. I will keep you updated as things progress at the state level. I've heard there may be, unofficially I've heard there may be some delays at the state level, which will impact us. Fortunately, most of the police in the county will not be subject to this board yet because they're still under the FOP contract, which doesn't expire until June 30th of next year. So, and that's the bulk of them.
So, just to be clear, once these documents clear the legal sufficiency process and they go to COMAR, is that the point at which comments
Yes.
can be made? Okay.
Yes, I keep checking the Maryland Register. Nothing's up yet. I've checked with our intergovernmental relations. They wanted to clear PAC comments through the council. That's why they had suggested making your comments to the council, because the council will comment on it, and the council is just too busy at this point. It might calm down by next week. There is an application process, and I can forward that to you.
An application process for what? I'm confused now.
So the Policing Advisory Commission can't lobby at the state or federal level without permission
Oh,
of the
right.
intergovernmental
An
relations.
exemption, sort of an
Right.
exemption process. Okay.
Right.
So, and you believe that the council may also weigh in with comments depending on, you know, what shows up in the regulatory framework?
That's, yeah, I can't speak for council, but that's my understanding given prior conversations.
Okay. So we're in a sort of wait and see kind of mode, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess as soon as these things clear legal sufficiency and go to COMAR, you will be sending them out to the PAC, probably in an email.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll just all have to keep our eyes open. Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you. That was a great update. Just trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, the side by side, the creation of the side by side for the PAC and the PAB. Was I supposed to do that?
I think it was your idea last
I think
time,
it
but
was
it
your
didn't
idea
really.
I just realized I think I was supposed to do that. Okay.
You're like, wouldn't it be nice to have?
Wouldn't that be nice to have? Yeah, I did remember saying that would be really nice to have. I don't remember if I volunteered to do it, but I may well have. So I will at least do a draft and send it out so that people can, you know, comment. Because I don't know if you all.
I copied and pasted some text from the staff reports presented by Robert Drummer or the legislative analysts, whomever,
Uh-huh.
and also from our website regarding PAC, you know, and our mission. So I sent that to Dalvin a while ago. I just copied and pasted some stuff and sent it to
That would be really helpful place to start. I
Yeah.
think either Susan or Carolyn have to send it out to the group because I have no pride of authorship. So you know, I think everybody can cut and paste as long as you know folks are citing where they're getting this stuff from. So yeah, I'm more than happy to share that task. So Alicia, if you can send it out, resend it to Carolyn and Susan, and they can send it to the group. So we're not violating any open meeting rules.
Yeah.
That would be
Yep.
wonderful. We had talked about, you know, part of the thing with the recreation of the subcommittees, I'm moving on to the next part of this agenda, which is community engagement and community policing. We had spoken about with the reconfiguration of the subcommittees, that there would be some things, some issues that would not necessarily fit neatly in any one place. And community policing, community engagement was one of those issues that really doesn't fit neatly into any of these particular subcommittees. So what we had thought about doing, and this is what, you know, the group should what I think would be helpful for the group to discuss, is to have these issues, community policing and community engagement, serve as the stuff we do at full committee, at least, you know, until we are able to make recommendations, you know, come to some conclusions about what this should look like. That it would be a joint effort from everyone, you know, and we would have guests, we would have speakers or around that topic, with the goal of producing principles, reflections, whatever you want to call it, on what community policing should look like in Montgomery County. That was the thinking. So I'm throwing it out there. Anybody have anything to comment?
I was just typing it real quickly. You know that this weekend is the Police Community Day at the Fairgrounds, just so you all know. Do you all know? You don't know?
No, I didn't.
Thank you. We didn't. I didn't.
I'm sorry. I'm eating, so I didn't want to have my camera on. And I look like a hot mess now. I stuck all my hair. It's Saturday at the Fairgrounds. I can find a flyer to share with you.
Is this the 100th anniversary thing?
Yeah, it's a 100th anniversary thing. There's going to be tons of people. All of, you know, I'm bummed I can't go, but it's going to be, they have the whole fairgrounds rented, so it should be a fun day.
Eric, you have something?
In terms of a vision of community-oriented policing, in the questions that I had sent to the commander of District 3, I had given examples of what I thought community policing might be. in what I sent to Susan for the commander of the 5th district was much more toned down because, or simply for the time constraints. But I guess the question, Sherry, is would it be useful? Are you asking if we would write like a paragraph or two of sort of what our vision of community policing in Montgomery County ought to be as a kind of summary statement that we could use? I mean, I guess not, would that be the kind of thing you're thinking of?
I think in the long run and not in the short run. So for instance, you know, we had the we had the 3rd district commander, and we were scheduled to have the 5th district commander. We invited each of them because we were told that the police do a whole lot of stuff in the community that nobody knows about. And so we were basically trying to get some understanding of what those actions and processes may be, and whether or not they differ from district to district, and if they do, why, and you know, what's the evidence, what, you know, that but so that was the purpose of the 3rd district commander speaking to the group. And I guess we should also ask whether the 5th district commander can be scheduled again. And I don't know, you know, I guess there are a few other district commanders we might want to try and have a conversation with. But that was the purpose of hearing from those individuals, because, you know, several officers had told us that they do a lot of stuff that we just don't know about. So we're trying to get a handle on what that stuff might be. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, it would be about developing, the project would be about developing a vision statement, if you will, of what community policing, what we think community policing could realistically look like. We also had what is his name? The assistant police chief. I want to say Carmen, right?
Spatiolo, yeah.
Yeah, Assistant Police Chief Carmen came and spoke, also spoke with us about what his vision of community policing was. So, you know, the goal here, I think, is to figure out how we, you know, examine what's being done, what's potentially proposed, what we believe as citizens on this commission, residents on this commission, what we believe would, you know, would be good ideas and things that we may want to raise concerns about. And quite frankly, that'd be a whole document right there. That we could, that, because you know, I am really big into being able to show people our work. You know, I mean, if we can, you know, have all these meetings and everything, but if nobody actually knows what we're doing, then the assumption is that maybe we're not doing anything. And I think that would be a real good way to show people our work. So, you know, that was the thinking on that level. Does anybody got any other concerns?
Is this the coming up the last year of the commission?
Yeah, we're in year, yeah, it's the last year of our terms. I don't know if, I don't think it's fair to say it's the last year of the commission. I guess that's up to folks at a higher pay grade, whether they'll have the commission as the PAB gets established. And that, I think our terms would be up in August.
This year?
I think
Or
so.
this was next year?
Next year? I don't know. Susan, do you know? Do you remember?
It's next year, it's 2023.
Okay. Yeah, so we have until then. But I think it's good for, I think that also, I think part of the concern was and is that we need to be able to give people a clear understanding of the differences between the PAC and the PAB, because the PAB won't actually be doing policy, if you will, but this body was created for that purpose. So, that's also a part of this. Anybody else have anything? So Susan and Carolyn, if you all can, I see that the commander had a death in his family, and maybe we can reschedule. So, if I guess that also falls into the discussion of potential speakers in the future, potential guest speakers for the what I call auxiliary meetings, so if we could put him on list. Let's see. And here we are at guest speaker suggestions. So and we're supposed to be there at 7:45 and it's 7:40. So hey, I caught up with ourselves. Anybody else have any guest speaker suggestions that that we can pursue? I think the next potential meeting is, what is it, 2 weeks? Is that the schedule for the auxiliary meetings, 2 weeks from today? So
Yes,
that
this
will
is
be
the 25th, I think, or 23rd.
23rd. Okay. So if you can, Susan, Carolyn, if you can let us know if any of those people, those two individuals would be available on that
Okay.
date, if that would be great.
Okay.
And Alicia, you had something?
Yeah, and I was gonna say it would be great if we could hear from the 5th District Commander. So if we're still gonna try to get him to come in, or I don't know. And if possible, if we could have someone from HR to come speak to us about hiring and anything that they're looking at to try to improve on hiring and recruitment.
Alicia, I've got information for you. I just haven't been able to send it out for you. I just got it today. So that's part of what I'm sending out after this meeting.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if anybody else is interested, because since there are attrition concerns.
It may prompt some more specific questions for you to want to ask the captain too, so.
Yeah. And those are nationwide, right? I mean, it's not just
Right.
good old MoCo, it's everybody is having these
Association.
attrition concerns. Yeah. Okay. Is there any new business?
Well, I just had one question. I tell you, I missed the meeting. I think I'm probably 9 miles behind the tail of the donkey. But is Carolyn Chin the person who has replaced, what was
Carlos?
Carlos, yeah.
Nobody can replace Carlos, but Carolyn is awesome.
Oh, great. So, all right.
Carlos
So
is missed.
she's one of our new staff contacts.
She is indeed. And Carolyn, I worked with Carolyn on, what did you do before, Carolyn? Was it grants? Carolyn's not a newbie. She's been in county government for a little while.
Carolyn's the reason my nonprofit is still running. She's my banker.
So Carolyn, are you dual hatted? Are you doing the grant stuff and this, or are you totally transitioned?
I am transitioned to legislative analyst, so that it's a portfolio, and grants is in there. So instead of reviewing grants, we now will have an office of grants management. So yeah, I'm happy to give any updates you want on that. The office is charged with securing more grants, outside funds for departments. And so that would include police.
Yes. So, I guess we should welcome you, Carolyn. I thought you had been here before. I thought you were here before, but okay. We're definitely glad to see you. As I said, I've worked with you before, and I know Carolyn is definitely someone who does a very professional and thorough job. So we are truly well taken care of with Susan and Carolyn. Is there any new business, folks? No? Cool. Okay, so according to this agenda, if there's no new business, then my only next thing is to adjourn this meeting. So y'all can tell Dalvin that I finished the meeting 15 minutes early. Ha ha
Right.
ha.
How's that?
But before we do that, I just want to make sure that no one has any questions or concerns that they'd like to raise before we leave. So, because we anything from anybody. Okay, cool. So in the next few days, we'll be getting some emails from Susan, who I'm sure is bogged down in budget work. And
Sherry?
yes, Eric.
So I guess a question I sort of have in response to your point is what should members of the PAC be doing between now and our next meeting?
Keeping out of trouble. Unless it's good trouble. No,
Don't get
I think
arrested.
the answer, yeah, but I think when Susan sends us the documents, it sounds like she's got quite a bit she's going to be sending us.
Mhm.
And so I think, reviewing those is one. Two, Alicia's going to send what she has that can be distributed for the review of the community engagement and community police, for the review of the PAC versus PAB
Right.
issue.
Reforming. Yeah.
And so any additions to that, people should feel welcome, to at least on their own figure out what those additions may be. And then when we get together, we can all, Susan can send out something before the next meeting about, what those additions that people have put forward would look like, and then we can, discuss that at the next meeting. So I think that's a whole lot of homework. Yes.
Susan noted that the new commissioners are going to the Citizen Academy, and I'm assuming that that's going to be an in-person version rather than the version we had a year or two ago that was virtual. Is that correct?
It's definitely in person. I believe there is a virtual option still, but I can check on that with Sergeant Mulaney and get back to you.
Yeah.
Would it be possible, since commissioners may have had a more spotty involvement in the Citizen Academy that was offered some time ago, for the schedule and for the upcoming sessions to be shared with us, Susan?
Absolutely. I was going to get the agenda and send it out to you, because if there are specific meetings that you're interested in attending, again, you absolutely can do that.
Right.
So, and I highly recommend the box drill at the end for use of force.
I was just gonna say that,
Yes.
Susan. I was killed 4 times, and Susan is a witness that I'm an awful cop. But you
Yeah.
really need to do that to feel it. Like that trumped every single class.
Well,
Really
I
going
made
in
it
the
be-
box. Yeah.
I made it behind the fire hydrant, so.
I was killed. I was killed 4 times. So yeah, it wasn't pretty. I'm too nice. I'm like, let me help you. Whap with a crowbar.
So I think I think everybody's got their homework assignment, or we'll
Mhm.
soon have it.
Lots to review. Yep.
Thank you.
Lots of homework. So if no one has anything else, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll choose that.
So,
Second. Yep.
thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all in a few weeks. You know, as a former teacher, do your homework. We'll be checking.
All right.
Have a
Thank you.
good
Bye-bye.
spring.
Bye, everybody.
see
Thank
you
you,
all.
thank you, mommy.
Happy
Thank you,
belated
Barbara.
Mother's Day to everybody.
Bye-bye.